Okay, now can anybody hear me on Zoom?
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
There you go.
What did I say? All are.
Looks like a late arrival bus.
Come on in, Betty.
You're gonna need the things back.
Just a little out of breath.
Okay, once again, good morning. It is a Tuesday, even though the sun is out, so I saw the sun, I thought I had the wrong day. Check my calendar. But it is a beautiful day. Would everybody please put their cell phone to sleep? Give it a couple hours rest and we'll still be able to. People on Zoom, would you please mute yourselves? Except when you have to speak. It looks like nobody is
Sound good.
muted up there. If you could all mute, I appreciate it. Hello, Zoomers.
Yep, they're muting.
They are muted. Good.
Can they hear us?
Yes.
For the folks on Zoom, thanks, Ed. For the folks on Zoom, if you would like to ask a question or interrupt somehow, please use the hand function. When you do that, it comes up on the screen that I'm looking at in the upper left-hand corner, and I'll be sure to see you, and John will see you if I don't. Otherwise, it gets confusing as to whose hand is up and who's just scratching their ear, who's first and everything else. So use the hand function if you would. So our speaker today is Narain Batra, who you may have seen in the Valley News many times. He, for more than 30 years, taught at Norwich University, courses on the First Amendment, media law and ethics, the internet and social media, and a graduate seminar on diplomacy. He's also the author of several books. He's a contributing columnist to The Statesman, which I believe is in India.
Yeah.
And also writes for some local newspapers, including the Valley News, Concord Monitor, and BT Digger. He hosts a podcast and publishes a newsletter. He's given public lectures and written extensively on artificial intelligence. The new book on AI is in progress. It says that yoga, meditation, and golf keep him going. So I'm not sure if he has any spare time to keep going. But anyway, it's a pleasure to have you, Narain. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yoga's to corrupt the ball.
Thank you for your kind words. It's good to be part of this wonderful community, Upper Valley intellectual community. I have been enjoying my life here for a long time, more than 20. These are extraordinary times, especially when I look at the world through the eyes of my grandchildren. They think differently. And actually, last month, I had a very fascinating time with them. They were in San Francisco. They had gone there for vacation, spring break, And they called me on the FaceTime. Grandpa started yelling excitedly, "Look, we are moving in a car that drives itself." And then they started showing me here and there. Look, it slows down on its own. It runs faster. It takes a turn. It changes lane. Nobody's there. Excited, very excited. Waymo, I'm talking about Waymo. San Francisco, LA, and Phoenix, and I think Austin, Texas also have these Waymos. So I'm going to talk about Waymo a bit because it is based upon artificial intelligence. So how does it work? And then later on that day, they again called me on FaceTime and they said, "Grandpa, look, we are now going in a trolley, San Francisco trolley. It started long ago. They said the trolley moves so slowly that sometimes you can get down and get up." My grandchildren, 9 and 13, growing up, wonderful. So when you look at the world from their point of view, it's so different and so exciting. So we have accumulated experience and we have become rather sometimes pessimistic. But I'm very, very hopeful that our lives, as I'm going to discuss with you, improve. By the way, I have some accent. I'm going to speak slowly. So if there's a problem, just raise your hand. I'll repeat myself. I'm older than most of you, by the way.
The money?
Anyway, the iconic cable car system began in 1873, 150 years ago. And they're keeping it. And it has been continuing since then. Now there are only 3 lines. It's a wonderful thing to go and see. And the cable car technology has not changed. But Waymo will be changing and changing. That's the difference. Most of the technology in the past had their end state. For example, the printing press, this is it. Even the internet has reached its maximum level of what you call efficiency. But AI technology has no end state. It will keep on improving so long we want it, so long we have the energy to use it, tremendous energy required. So that's what I'm talking about, going to talk about as to how it is going to affect our lives, how it is going to improve our life. So the Waymo driver is just explanation, is just like a highly experienced digital chauffeur. Based on artificial intelligence, there are many categories 4 categories of AI, which I'm going to discuss with you. Just for a moment, the Waymo has a very powerful suite of cameras, and which it gives, cameras all time revolving around, gives a 360 view of the whole, area. So sensors are there, 3 sensors, LiDAR, light detection range. It measures whether the surface is up and down, so the car can take care of it. And then, of course, cameras, revolving cameras, 360 view, and then radar. And other artificial intelligence, systems they use together. So it becomes very light. The most beautiful thing about Waymo is that it is part of a fleet. There are 350 Waymo cars in San Francisco. And they are a cloud-based system. That means if one car comes across a problem, it learns from the problem and it passes on to other cars in the city. So it's a system, not isolated together. This is very important. We will discuss when we discuss the military implication of this. So as technology improves, the function and functionality of AI, Waymo will go on improving in the course of time. And they're also planning to start Waymo system in Japan and other countries. Eventually, I believe, in the future, it will be available all over the USA. By the way, when we talk about the future in the age of AI, we don't mean 10, 15 years. We mean 6 months. Time runs fast in digital age. It's not the same. So this 360-degree view, when the car moves, continues. So what happens is Waymo gives an incredibly detailed map of the road system and environment, always continuously, based upon AI. So this is the first step, as I mentioned. Totality of view. And then because of machine learning and AI, it interprets data very quickly. Suppose the car is driving and somebody by mistake jumps into the lane, it will stop. Because it has been trained. It has been trained millions of miles before it was allowed to go on, the road. It keeps learning. not only one unit, because they are connected, interconnected via cloud, so they learn from each other. This is something unique about Waymo and other cars which are coming up. So I mentioned pedestrian steps in or some kind of cyclist comes in, it will stop. So it learns from every move it makes. Its collective knowledge goes on increasing. We stop learning at some point, right? All of us sometimes stop learning. But vehicle with artificial intelligence, they won't stop learning. They will reach their maximum efficiency level, depending upon the training. So this we have to keep in the fleet is one. Cars may be 350 or more, but they work. A car may be here, but could move to some other place when required. So we keep this in mind, very important. That's what I'm talking about. In a tricky situation, suppose a car meets an extraordinary tricky situation, difficult situation. First time, it will learn and the knowledge will stay there. Knowledge will be shared by this unit with other 350 cars, but not in LA, not in Phoenix, only in San Francisco, that's the area. So machine learning is the heart of this process. So Waymo engineers keep on improving continuously. It is a big business proposition. We are talking about now about the marketplace. They're going to make money. Therefore, since there's big competition, market-based competition, the technology will go on improving. Capitalism.
Got a question?
Yes, please.
Is this artificial intelligence that's generative in the Waymo system?
In the Waymo system at present, it is narrow AI, which I was going to discuss. It will do what is asked to do specifically. Generative AI does much more than AI. And in the future, when they bring two things together, generative AI and narrow, then it will improve. For example, in the future, you have a Waymo car, you are sitting there. Suppose the inside of the car are sensitive. They have sensors. And you are sitting there and you have, not you, but somebody else, but driving the car, you have some health issue. Right? You are not driving, the car is driving, but you're going someplace and some health issue. So the car might, Waymo might sense your problem, health problem, and inform your provider, look, this is the situation. And then, of course, the car, instead of going to your destination, might veer around, go to the hospital. That will come in the future. It will create some problem of privacy for them. Should the car spy on you? But if I'm old man, as I am, I would like somebody to look after me, right? I would be rather safe than, have a kind of collapse or something. Have I answered your question?
Yes.
Okay. In the future, we can discuss more as time passes. So, in the future, every time, the commute will become safer and smarter. Yes, sir. It is coming there with us. So, as I mentioned, AI is not like any other technology because there's no end state. It keeps improving. Now, just imagine, example, the fastest moving train in the world is Shanghai Maglev. Shanghai runs very fast. But this Shanghai MagLab is nothing but a version of a trolley, right? It is faster. It's still a car, a train, nothing more than that. Right? But Waymo will improve. After 5-10 years, Waymo will be very different. What direction we do not know. It depends on the technology and the marketplace, what people want. Ours is a capitalist society. Companies want to make money. It's not charity, they're running this. For the time being, they might be losing money. Eventually, they would like to make money. So technology will improve and there will be competition. That's why it's coming up. Other companies are coming up. And we'll see, they might cooperate. See, Tesla and other companies might kind of work together, depending upon it. So this is based upon narrow AI. There are, to answer your question, there are 4 categories of artificial intelligence. Narrow AI, and then of course generative AI. Then later on, as we progress, and we are doing it, what is called artificial general intelligence. I'm going to explain briefly. And then super intelligence. I am very fond of the idea of super intelligence. I have written quite a few articles about it, which I'm going to discuss. So narrow AI has been widely applicable. Of course, AI started long ago, but actually in the 1980s, it began to be applied everywhere, from everything, the way you, if you want to give a dictation, if you want to, ask questions, etc., simple, in a limited fashion. But the word narrow should not be misunderstood. It means narrow AI does the function it is asked to do, trained to do. It will not go beyond that. Take Siri and Alexa, all of you, kids use it. But it will answer question on which it has been trained, not more than that. But when you use Copilot, and you have a dialogue with Copilot, it can continue talking and talking, answering questions. If I have time, I'll show you. You see, Copilot is based upon generative AI. And if you have any question, any language, suppose a woman in Kenya, they speak, one of the languages they speak is Swahili. And she asks a question in Swahili, and Copilot or other agents will immediately translate into English and then answer back in Swahili. Right? Suppose a woman is not highly educated, in the sense she may be very intelligent, but may not have gone to college, so not very literate. So if she speaks in her own language, so Copilot, other agents will be able to answer her in her own language quickly. The point is, generative AI, which is trained on large language models, large visual models, extreme training from all kinds of sources, encyclopedia, Wikipedia, and social media. Yes, please.
Then what makes it unique? I mean, what's the incentive if somebody comes to challenge Venmo? I mean, how it behaves is the same universally. There's nothing that a vendor can say that's mine.
Waymo belongs to Google. Are you talking about ownership?
Pardon me?
Are you talking about the ownership of Waymo?
No, in the future when there are competitors and so on, I'm thinking that this intelligence is shareable, or should be, or will be shareable along all competitors. So the incentive someone gets washed out.
Generative AI technology is available to everybody. All the companies have it. the question of application, how you apply it. That's the point, that's distinction. For example, all the corporations in America, all corporations, big, small, they use AI for different purposes. Human resources or marketing, etc. So one company has a marketing plan which is different from other companies' market plan. The foundational technology is the same, generative AI. But how it is used, and AI, for example, narrow AI could be used for specific function. And I'm going to discuss with you, that will answer your question also. One example, see the narrow AI can play chess with you, right? Narrow AI can play chess, play party with you. And in one recent case, a robot, AI robot, completed Rubik cube in 0.30 seconds. That's the speed. But this, to answer your question, this technology will not do anything else. It will play chess with you. It will play Rubik with you. Separate. That's the meaning of narrow eye. So narrow is not limited. It is deeply focused. So important thing is that this AI tools can analyze vast amount of data quickly, and they then learn patterns from that data. And then based upon that, they make predictions. This is how it becomes useful for the corporate America and other companies to use, save time. It creates many problems. For example, we train AI for selecting certain people for certain jobs. So if we train them on certain names, American sounding name is okay. But if name like Muhammad comes there, and then AI might ignore it because it's a Muslim name, not you, depends upon it. This is how bias occurs. Now, if AI is trained in a manner that mostly it selects men for a certain job, so it might create prejudice. Now, this we'll discuss later on. So these are the problems are there, so we have to keep in mind. Anyway, I want to discuss something very important to you, and it will be it should stay with you. It's about the role AI played in the development of vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine. Now, some of you have medical background, and normally it takes about 10 to 18 years, the development of new drugs. It's not easy, very long process. Is that right? But COVID vaccine was developed in about 10 to 11 months. What happened? How did this happen? Because two things. First of all, artificial intelligence did processes parallelly. By the way, we think sequentially, most of it. But AI thinks in a parallel manner. All the functions are done at the same time. It doesn't read the book as we do. AI doesn't read the book page by page. It reads the book whole. How it does, we do not know. In fact, last week, early last month, 5, 6, 7 May, there was a conference in MIT. And one question which was constantly asked, repeatedly asked, how does it think? And speaker after speaker said, we do not know how the black box works. Once the information gets into black box, it does quickly something and we get instant reply. So, but one day we might know. At present, we don't know. One thing is certain. Our thinking is different from machine thinking. Right? And it's very fast. It's very accurate. The problem is, it hallucinates. Right? So what do you do when you ask a question, it gives you an answer, and you might use it. So we have to train ourselves in thinking that we have to do fact check. In journalism, we always do fact checking. We never trust one source, we use three sources. So when you get an answer from AI on any topic, the best thing is to go to other agents. Other agents mean you have ChatGPT, you have Gemini, you have Copilot, Perplexity. There are so many agents. So try. It may be, even then you are on your own. There is no substitute for human judgment. Right? The question is, when you come across such intelligent agents, it is possible that based upon challenge and response, you might start improving. Right? If we are challenged every day, our mind will improve. This is the theory, right? If we don't use, we lose it. That's the reason we should be here. Right? We should keep learning. So we have to keep this in mind. Hallucination, there is a serious problem, but it is improving. They say it is improving. Who is they? The companies. But as Reagan used to say, borrowing it from Russian, saying, trust but verify. Trust but verify. Not blindly. So I mentioned briefly generative AI. Yes, please.
Can you give an example of what you mean by hallucination?
Hallucination means it sometimes makes up facts. Yeah, that's hallucination.
Okay,
It makes up facts. Yes.
sounds like a
Yes,
political person. Yeah.
If it can hallucinate, how do I know I'm not getting into group think in a machine world?
Well, you see, that's what I see. There are at present 5 agents: Perplexity, Gemini, Copilot, and ChatGPT. Others are there. Chinese is also there. So when you are working on something serious, then it is good to verify what other ChatGPT are saying. Even then, you should have always some doubt in your mind. Always some question in your mind. Am I right? So this is the only way. There is no certainty you'll find absolute truth anytime. Right? Okay. I will come back to this again. As you know, generative AI, not narrow eye, but generative eye. I was talking about, let me explain to you this again, right? Yeah, artificial intelligence played a significant role in the development of COVID-19 vaccine. From the identification of the virus to the development to the authorization of manufacturing, it took about 8 to 10 months instead of 8 to 10 years. So as I mentioned, it happened because, first of all, technology called mRNA was already in development. So what AI did was to hasten the process. Every process was hastened. What process? From production and then distribution of vaccine all over the world. It was a big deal. The whole world was in trouble. There was no country which was safe from COVID-19, right? You can imagine the scene. In New York, no place to keep the dead bodies. In India, the dead bodies were burning here and there. It was terrible, right? And the doctors were working throughout day and night, right? And I remember that at that time, when somebody asked Dr. Anthony Fauci, how long? He said, "Whoa, it will take 8 to 10 years. So keep washing your hands, put on mask." Right? That was in 2020. the virus got out of where? From a lab in China, as they say. Then it spread widely, uncontrolled, all over the world. Everything was closed. So, but within a short time, they came up with this vaccine. The question was, development is one thing. Approval of the medicine was done very quickly. The question is production. How do you produce billions of vaccines for the whole world? So that's how artificial intelligence is planned and how to do it. But how do you distribute it? How do you distribute it? The logistic part of it. So that's how AI worked with the scientists as to not only to develop the medicine and drug and then market it and distribute it, and then watch how it is working, right? So this is an example of, but this was all narrow AI. Narrow AI did what it was supposed to do. Normally, researchers take very long time at looking at things. They can't, if they decide this is the virus, then they can, that next step, identification of virus and then all. So we shall keep this in mind. It's a very, very important use case, narrow AI. Now, if they combine with the generative AI, a researcher can ask questions, right? And then it will answer questions in a dialogue. So generative AI is also improving. As I said, there's no end state. In the beginning, it goes on improving. Then comes the third stage, artificial general intelligence, which will be as good as our intelligence, the same level. It will function the same intellectual level as we do, except that artificial general intelligence will keep on working. There will be no entry. We get tired. Machines don't get tired. So if a task is there, requires day and night in research, it will keep on doing it. And then next stage is artificial general intelligence would develop into, if we keep working, into super intelligence, which is a stage where super intelligence does much more than, is beyond us, beyond us. So for, yeah,
Ed has a question.
yes, please.
Do you have any idea how the power consumption goes up as AI advances?
Yes. Yes, please.
Microsoft has purchased the undamaged unit at 3 Mile Island.
Yes, that's a very good point. And if energy is not available, it will come to an end. It consumed huge amount of energy. You're right. How much, I do not know. Depends upon the stage. And Microsoft is only one company. And there are companies abroad in China, as they are using the same thing. So to answer your question, it is a big challenge. When there's a challenge, there's a response. They will find some source of new energy, renewable energy, endless energy. Without that, it cannot go on. And would they stop? No, because it is tied up with business, right? Capitalism. You see, the productivity, profits, all these things, drive people to find new sources. In general system, there's a term called equifinality. When a system comes across a challenge, it finds some other way of solving the problem. That's how dynamic systems work. So the question you asked is very important. It is going to be expensive. And since it is a private enterprise in the USA, capitalism, they will find some way, hoping that it is possible to go on. The way you look at is top AI companies, I don't think they're going to stop. They have been making money. They haven't making money. The value has been going up. The market value of these companies has been going up because there's promise. And promises are seen in profits. I hope there is some answer to your question. Right? Later on, we'll continue the discussion. So, general intelligence, artificial general intelligence, it will reason like human being. And as I said, take one of the best brains we had in the 20th century, that is Albert Einstein, right? Miracle. But after some time, even Albert Einstein stopped working. In the later years of his life, he was working on unified theory. But then, it's the same thing. He didn't break the ceiling. So I think if Albert Einstein at that time had a companion, a super intelligent companion, superior to his own intelligence, both of them could have worked and probably solved problems which we can't solve. I believe we have reached a kind of glass ceiling. The equivalent of glass ceiling. We normally, when you talk about glass ceiling, we say women have reached a glass ceiling. They can't go beyond that. So humanity as a whole has reached a glass ceiling. We can't see beyond that. We think this is the world. But we do not know what is beyond that. So if you have super intelligence under control as a companion, not as someone that can challenge us and destroy us, as some people say, then we do not know how far we go. And it may be the next step in human evolution. This next step. Human evolution has not come to an end. But how does next step take place? We have yet to see.
So,
Yes.
what do you mean by control?
Control?
Yeah, what do you mean when you say if it's under our control? What do you mean by
that's the
control?
point. You see, we are talking about algorithms. Ultimately, AI is nothing but algorithm. The way you make algorithm, create algorithm, it is with you. You can also introduce a moral aspect into AI, moral aspect. Good and bad. They have not tried, but they have to try. In order for us to trust AI, they have to make it responsible, morally. It is doable. It's a question of algorithm. Right? So that's the meaning of control. Out of control means let it go. Then we don't know. You have seen many movies. Robots got out of control. And so the question is there any government that would be ready to give up control? China, for example. Why would Chinese Communist Party give up the control to machines? Right? So they would do, we would do, other countries will do, company will do, that everything remains in our control. There have been many people who have expressed this fear that this might lead to the end of humanity, which is kind of exaggerated fear. Yes, please.
It sounds like the perfect propaganda machine. You know, like a left-wing algorithm, and it could be a right-wing algorithm. It could be.
Yes.
And who's judging?
Algorithm is neutral. You can use anyway, and you can create anyway. As I said, you can create an algorithm which will exclude Asians, women, black people. That is doable. So this is not under your control now. So we will discuss briefly later. When governments begin to think about what ethical consideration should be there. They think that we should have equality, there should be no racial prejudice, which means you can introduce racial prejudice through algorithm. You can do otherwise also. So anyway,
Scary.
we talk about superintelligence. So that is in the future. It could happen. If the question is, if energy is available, if people want to work, and there is a marketplace, then it will go on, go on. In socialist country where there is no idea of profit making, they may not care. There are no socialist country now. Russia is also capitalist country. But the point is, this: I have some faith in the marketplace, some, not much. So marketplace is a very driving force, more than the energy you mentioned. It is the competition of the marketplace which will drive AI to frontier. Then, of course, controls will be necessary. I'm going to talk about controls later on. Controls are important, but controls should not be so strict that they strangle innovation. And this is the struggle which the Biden administration, and now the Trump administration has going through as to how much controls are necessary. America keeps innovating in this new technology, and America remains ahead of anybody else. Now the question is, let me see, I've forgotten that. I want to show you this. I'll come back. That's the 4 categories I mentioned, right? All categories. The 4 categories I mentioned, 4. Narrow AI and generative AI. This is what they do. I'm just repeating what I said earlier. Now I talk about self-driving car. Later on, if we have time, I'll show you. It's not a big deal, how it moves them. Oh, this is what we have been talking about. AI poses terrible threats. Talk about fake images, hallucination, and false profile. It can create fake news about you, anybody. Those moral questions will not go away. That is our problem. We can improve technology, but we cannot give up on our interest and counterfeit anything, right? The video technology, DALL-E, etc., so good that it can create a replica, exact replica of original, difficult to distinguish. Even today, even without AI, some of us may not be able to distinguish what is the real Mona Lisa and the fake Mona Lisa. And there have been so many. And of course, deep fake videos, that is false videos, which have been made. You see that Donald Trump as the Pope. You saw that? But that was that we knew that it's a fake. But sometimes we don't know. So let's talk about AI's impact on military. This is one of the things we have discussed. Before that, I want to go back and show you this. Now, this is now, if you see, what I'm trying to say is American national security is a dynamic system. It is not one thing. There are actually 10 components of this, right? Now, at the bottom, you find US Treasury Department. What has this to do? What has the Department of Treasury to do with the national security? Can you think about it? Anybody? Yes. How does this come into picture? The US Treasury, how does it affect our national security? US Treasury has so much power. The dollar is very powerful institution. right? Most of the world does its business through dollars. Dollar is a king of America. And then the US Treasury Department can impose sanctions. Once sanctions are imposed on China, Iran, for example, other countries, Russia, their business international business comes to an end. Because most of the, I would say about 75% transaction, global business transaction take place through dollars. And of course, as you know, US Treasury is the biggest depository of foreign currency. Everybody wants to save money in dollars. And people say America is declining. How? Dollar is rising. Dollar is very powerful. You can see how Trump has treated the world, putting tariff everywhere and withdrawing tariff. Only America can do it, right? So anyway, this is one example. Of course, diplomacy and foreign policy also come into play. So far, national security is concerned. And somebody raised a question about energy, environmental security. Yes.
I'm not sure how to read this graph. I see diplomacy and foreign policy twice. I see
No.
homeland security twice.
Yeah,
I see cybersecurity twice.
Yeah, what had happened, I used AI data. So I gave it 10 components. And I said, military security should be in the center and then around. So it repeated, yes, the 10 commandments. They're the same.
It's 11, but that's okay.
Yeah. But anyway, diplomacy, energy, and intelligence and content we'll discuss. Homeland security, public health. Now, public health and biosecurity is very important. As we discussed COVID-19, right? COVID-19 was a big threat to American national security, not only American, but everywhere else. So you can't ignore health, global health. Because nowadays, any virus travels very quickly, right? We never knew that COVID virus was coming from China. And they wouldn't agree, they wouldn't accept it. But whether they accept or not, it was with us. So anyway, and law enforcement and domestic stability, very important, right? Law enforcement, if there's lawlessness, America loses its power. In every country, there is some, definitely.
Yeah, outfits in Manhattan,
But
there are companies in Manhattan who are trying to market artificial intelligence. And it's difficult because there's much skepticism about it
they are
in industry.
They are trying to sell applications. Artificial intelligence belongs to all of us. But I can't use it, I have to use application, apps. So they are going to market, when they say, you say market, they are going to market AI with the specific application. For what purpose? If you have an example, for example, health, health apps are there. Example, for example, mental health is a very serious issue, right? All over the country, all over the world. So now they are coming up with apps which a person can use to discuss, see what kind of mental problems person has in the privacy of his or her home. Most of us are afraid of talking about our mental health. But now there are apps, artificial intelligence apps, I say, and they are professional. You have to become member. So have I answered your question?
Is it successful?
Well, that's a good question. So talking about health, for example, health apps are there, mental health apps. They say it could be an accessory aid, but no mental health, no artificial intelligence-based mental health mental app can replace a doctor. There's no substitute for becoming, the place of a doctor in our health. And the same case with, instead of health, you can talk about other issues. Same thing. Ultimately, human judgment is indispensable. We cannot give up everything to machine. We have to learn how to control machine. How much is it? We're fine.
Question?
Yes, please. That's it.
How,
I'd like to ask,
Oh, yes.
I'd like to ask a question. Should we assume that the tendency to hallucinate is somewhat built into the process as you go from specific to generative to superintelligence, that the level of hallucination merely continues to become more complex as well?
It's,
And is it possible to use the narrow AI to check the hallucinations that the more generative AI produces, the way other systems have used checks and balances?
Yes.
Think of our government built around this idea of competing intelligence, each of which sort of is balanced to prevent one form of intelligence from serving its own interest.
You mentioned earlier that hallucination will go on increasing. The companies, IA companies, they argue the hallucination is decreasing. As the system improves, as the problem of hallucination will decrease. This is what they say. That we do not know. But the question you said, is it built into hallucination? Is it hallucination built into the system? It's very difficult to answer the question because we do not know how the black box works. Right? If we know, then you can simply eliminate it. And they would like to eliminate it. The company themselves do not know how it happened. All they know is that it processes information simultaneously at a very quick speed, not sequentially, but simultaneously. How it does, very difficult to say. At present, there's no answer. So hallucination, we have to see whether it increases as more and more people use, or it will decrease. So I can't answer definitely whether it is built in the system or it is a kind of function, collateral function. I don't know, very difficult to say. But one thing is certain, we have to be sure that we check everything we do. Do not trust AI production, any kind of, whether it's visual or it is textual, completely verify. Well, the question is, can ordinary people do it? No. But we have to get into the habit of checking. More of us will be using it. For example, I mentioned mental health apps. If you go there and you cannot give up on your own real mental health professional. That should be there. This should be kind of along with that. So it's a serious problem. It might diminish. But if it expands, it might increase also. We have to see. Yes, please. Any other question?
yes.
There should be skepticism.
Skepticism. As I mentioned now, trust but verify. Verify. In journalism, we always do that. When I submit a report to my editor, why he takes it with a great grain of salt. Yes, you may be wrong. And there have been incidents where journalists have a fake story. It's a human being can fake stories for a consumption in a manner that seems very, very plausible. Machines can also do. We don't speak the truth all the time, do we? Human beings tell lies, so we verify. Even sometimes family members, we check and check. In journalism, they say 3 times, 3 sources, verify. Even then, lawsuits are there. The only thing is, in the case of AI, you can't file a lawsuit against any company.
Question.
Yes.
The AI self-improvement goes through reading information on the internet. Some of that information is correct, some is not. And in particularly, I believe there's a lawsuit with the New York Times and some of the AI companies about the copyright of that information. And also, there's a theory that Trump is trying to access all the data in the US government to help build an artificial intelligence for his own company. How do we control, or have you heard the outcome of the New York Times lawsuit?
New York Times and other newspapers and magazines filed a suit, and there has been some settlement. So they have agreed to pay. The details are not known to me, but they have settled the lawsuit. Well, the question is, AI doesn't directly copy from New York Times. I mean, there's not plagiarism. You can't say this is New York Times and this is coming from GTP, what do you call it? Any application. But they say, where do you get from? So it's not only New York Times, other newspapers also, other books also, encyclopedias are there. So that question has been not answered. If AI but digests material from Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is written by billions of people all over the world. So how do you decide intellectual property? So the idea of intellectual property itself is in question now. There was a time before the printing press, as you know, there was nothing like copyright. People borrowed from each other, they borrowed songs, etc.
Sure.
Only when the printing press came, the idea of copyright, the idea of authorship. Earlier, authorship used to be common. Everybody owned everything. Old songs. No. So the second question you asked is very difficult to answer, because if Trump is trying to, which could be illegal, somebody has to challenge him, that he can collect all our data and use for his purpose. I have not come across the real thing they have doing it. There were people talk about it. That brings us to the question of how much power should the president have? Can he do anything? Slowly and gradually. I mean, it is about how many 120 days or something, and you see the challenges are coming up slowly and gradually. Slowly and gradually. As the time passes, you will see President Trump will feel that he's less powerful than he thought he was. Recent cases about China, he has come down from 145%
to 30.
tariff to
30%,
right? It's not doable. And not very relevant. Take the case of illegal immigrants. 11 million illegal immigrants. how many people can you deport? How long? There are, I mean, it's known fact there are more than 11 million immigrants. So sometimes problems have to be solved other way, not deporting the system. So the question of Trump's business dealings seem to be mingling with his political goal. So far, nobody has challenged him in this respect. Let's see how things go. All right? So I was talking about, the question was about, there were duplications. Yes, duplication because I couldn't eliminate it. I use DALI. I asked DALI to do this, give 10 components. I said, make this. I said the military security should be at the center. And then rank file. So this is how AI helps us decide. So this is it. Repetition is there, but there are 10 components. I was talking about US Treasury and Homeland Security and then public health. Everything is connected with our national security. So national security is not only military. That is very important.
You could have drawn the same diagram with Adolf Hitler.
So this is how the IA's impact upon military strategy. Autonomous weapons, and then of course cyber security, intelligence analysis. Let me discuss very briefly with you. So how does this coming to some of you have military background, right? And at the heart of any strategy is command and control, right? Command and control. And so that is the basis of decision making. Command control is not something new. It has been there time immemorial. Whenever there's military. And the question is now, what the Pentagon has done, they have started this initiative called Joint All Domain Command and Control, JADCG. In this concept, they are trying to unify all the 4 branches, Air Force, Navy, Army, Space, and Marine Corps, etc., into not one unit, not destroying their distinction, but putting them in a kind of one platform so they can use each other's knowledge. And the decisions are taken as a whole, not individually. So this is what the meaning is. Unified network powered by AI. It can be done because AI works very fast, right? There's a concept in the military, as all of you know, some of you have backgrounds, what we call sensor to shooter. Sensor to shooter, right? It's an old concept. Sensor means gathering intelligence about a target and then deciding this is the target, and then how to deal with the target, shoot. Again, every step you find AI coming in and playing a role in gathering intelligence very quickly, processing intelligence very quickly, right? And fusing intelligence to see what the whole picture is. Then, of course, deciding the target, right? Is this the target? Verifying. And then comes shooter, sensor to shooter. Now, shooter again creates many possibilities with AI. For example, what weapons to use, right? Which branch of the military should use it? Or should we, that's a function of commander. He decides or she decides. So this is what we should do. So when you have all the branches together, then it becomes, the commander sees the whole picture in a very fast, quick manner. the data processing, as you saw in the case of COVID-19, is very fast. Same is sitting. So the whole picture, yes. And now you see how things are changing. F-16 simulation, fighter jet. And in simulation, they showed that F-16 in a dogfight actually did better than the one human piloted F-16. That was earlier in kind of simulation. But later on, they tried real life also. They found F-16 AI piloted airplane does better, does as good. The question arises, if drones or AI-16 pilotless or AI piloted airplane can do as good or better, then how many pilots do you need? Can we combine AI piloted jets with human pilots? And what combination? You see, a few days ago, Secretary of Defense, Steve Heggs, right? Steve Heggs, he raised a question. He said, we don't need so many generals. We need 20% less generals. You know, many of us think he is not very smart man, so we ignore him. But if you pay attention, why is he talking about this, reducing the number of generals? How did it work? I think he didn't explain. It seems very obvious that he's thinking that AI, artificial intelligence, might make it possible to reduce the number of generals and also other personnel, military personnel. It might increase efficiency, right? If we can combine the combination of a swarm of drone swarms, along with the human piloted jets, it might create something new. So they are trying this in a, let me show you. Yeah. So Army along with others, has a program. They call it experimentation, they call it campaign sometime, called convergence. So convergence campaign is not one time. Now the latest is called by the name of Capstone, right? It covered the entire Indo-Pacific region, all the branches included, plus some of the allies like Japan, Australia, New Zealand, UK, and Canada, working together to see whether the system works together. That is what you call interoperable, right? Working together. So this is not the end. So they're going to have more and more exercise in the future. Exercise, experimentation, campaign, use different names about this. If I have time, we'll show you some real things. I'll show you some clips, depending on time.
Is this a good time for a break, or do you want to go a little further?
Let me finish this. Are you ready for the break?
It's up to you. Go ahead.
No, I'm asking them.
I'm asking you.
I can go on, but let's see a couple of minutes. So understand, Army plan, a project, convergence. But Army is the host. But other branches are there. They learn from each other. The whole idea is the US military should become one unified system. And the command and control then becomes easier. Decision making becomes easier. So this is what I'm saying. Now, NATO Allied Command is using AI system called Phoenix This system, what it does, it simply analyzes the data and summarizes what happened for the commander. It becomes easier. For example, so much intelligence is there. What to do with it? You and I cannot go on looking at the computer and deciding what it is. That's why AI comes into picture and it simply fuses data and makes it understandable in a short form. For example, every morning, as you know, the US president gets briefing, intelligence briefing. That's the first thing it is done. So this is done very quickly because now AI, it summarizes and somebody has a question, hallucination. So that is there. So security agency people who brief him, they're aware of it. So we have to keep this in mind that when so much data is there, somebody has to summarize us. Now, many of you are good readers, but if somebody gives you a book of 500 pages and read in one week, it may not be possible. So as students used to do, well, get a guide, finish it. So again, we are going to rely upon AI for doing that. One thing I didn't mention, at present, generative AI, it simply creates material from what it has been trained on, right? Generative AI does give us pictures and articles and songs, blending everything from New York Times or whatever, But it is from existing material. Now, yes.
You say generative AI. Are you implying that it is in fact programming itself? It's creating its own algorithms?
Not at present. That's the next step. That's the question we have discussed. Generative AI is at present dependent upon the large language model or large visual model. It depends upon what it has now. It combines, synthesizes, creates something seemingly new. The question is, what if in the future, if AI begins to collect data on its own, not from the existing material, on its own, and then it will happen that it will go on improving what is called recursively, its own self. Just imagine, to give you an example, to clarify. For example, Waymo now, the autonomous car, now it drives, right? And I said, what if it inside is sensorized, sensors are there, it will collect data from your health. But what if Waymo begins, when it commutes from place to place, goes from place to place, it goes on also collecting data on its own. And then gives you a report, summarize it for you. Or just replace Waymo with a autonomous tank. Waymo becomes the tank, autonomous. Instead of taking you to your destiny, it becomes a weapon. And it, according to some reports, this autonomous tanks have been used in Russia, recent Russian war is going on. We don't know the detail, but people think, it's the same thing as a drone. So the challenge is how to use drones, how to use the autonomous weapons, vehicles for different purposes, not for peaceful purpose. So the question is, I think I'm trying to answer your question. Yes, if AI-powered, generative AI-powered system begin to collect data on their own, not from existing data, new data, right? Waymo takes you to McDonald's and you pick up food, that's all right. But what if Waymo also is instructed or programmed to collect data, go and see, right? That is possible in the future. When that happens, then generative AI will grow and move into that stage of what we call as artificial general intelligence, the same as we have, and later on to super. So at present, it is not being done, but as we read reports in newspaper, they say 5-6 years. Some people say yes, sooner. It is coming, which gives us challenges for us as to how to, probably not the control is the right word, but how to manage it, how to live with it. We have to live with machines. We have to live with machines and see that they work for us. And that's why the power of algorithm. Algorithms are controlled by us. That's the key. Algorithm is nothing but step by step doing things. I'm a very simplistic manner. It can be controlled. It can be designed morally, and that's the goal. It should be. So if hallucination comes again and again, that problem will continue for some time. They claim they are working towards a time for hallucination to reduce. But there will be no substitute for checking up. So if you want to take some rest, now
Let's take a break and get back here at. Okay, back.
ladies,
Everybody back?
everybody.
Okay,
So
Ladies.
let's going to the next subtopic that is autonomous weapon. Right? AI makes it possible to make weapons autonomous. What is autonomous weapon? Definition. It raises many questions about, of course. There's a definition of the official definition. On the top right, you see, once activated, can select and engage targets without further intervention by a human operator. This is the official definition of the Department of Defense, right? Here you might ask a question, why would any commander give up control to a machine, right? It is, commanders are trained on control. Nobody wants to give up. So the question is not that, will there be any time when there will be completely autonomous weapon? It's possible to do it. But how much autonomy should be there? How much control should be there?
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
Well, yes.
But I understand you just saying that autonomous weapons are prohibited? Prohibited
No.
by whom?
Nowhere prohibited.
Nowhere prohibited, okay.
Not present. It is classified information. We do not know what the Pentagon is doing now. Right? But one thing is certain, which I think I'll show you a clip also. There are degrees of autonomous, a weapon being autonomous. Degrees, complete, partial, etc., etc. But there is a great advantage of having weapons which are autonomous, right? For example, instead of sending soldiers to battlefield, send autonomous weapons. But other people will also do it. And, yes. Okay. So this is the second line. Human out of loop and human in the loop. Human out of the loop means a weapon is totally autonomous. Once you let it go, it will go to the target and do it. In the loop, that is greater possibility and more desirable from command and control point of view, I think. So there will be not. Having a completely autonomous weapon means that weapon could do anything. Once it is out of control, it's gone. So, not publicly acknowledged, but US is, Pentagon is working, as is China and Russia. So the directive is, the goal is, guidelines, guardrails, is that retaining appropriate level of human judgment. Last month. Yeah. Appropriate level of human judgment. That's it.
Question, you're retaining appropriate levels of human judgment. Who determines what is appropriate?
That's the Pentagon. There's a directive. They have guidelines. This is the human in the loop is important. The final decision should be with the commander. The final decision is with the commander-in-chief, US president. And that means that you're talking about something which is, say, atomic weapons, nuclear weapons. That final decision is with them. But before that, there are a lot of people, and they, they can create scenarios. Look, this is what happened, this is what happened. Just think about what Truman did, President Truman. Now, many people agree with him that he did this. But if artificial intelligence were available at the time, it could have given some options to the president. Look, the same goal of surrender, Japanese surrender, could be achieved by some other means also, less horrific means. But as you must have seen a movie also, Oppenheimer, right? And he said, just do it quickly. Yeah, but today, probably they'll think several times before they do it. Right? That's why it's so big a responsibility for giving power to the president. And that's why you see, although Russia has a nuclear weapon in this war which is going on still, they have been talking about it, but they have not taken any steps. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Can you give us examples on this? I'm thinking of drones.
Yeah, drone.
Nowadays, drones are in warfare a lot.
Yeah.
And somebody's sitting at their computer getting the drone messages and making decisions. Is
That
that
somebody is artificial intelligence processes messages.
So it's out of the human loop, so to
No,
speak?
it's not. At present, not other human loop. Drones are controlled by people in charge, commanders. Yeah. Yes. They work with the real people. A swarm of drones, is controlled. Yeah. But once a drone goes and hits, suppose the drone is meant for suicide, then it goes at the end of it. There's no way off. Atom bomb which was dropped in Japan, that couldn't be called back. But that's not autonomous weapon. The nuclear weapon, atom bomb, didn't decide to hit this or that. It was decided by human beings. Human beings were in control. To some extent, I answered your question.
See, you have it as human out of the loop or human in the loop. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand.
Human in the loop is that final decision should be with the commanders. Out of the loop, when the weapon itself decides where to hit. Yeah, go on its own.
We are not there yet.
That stage has not been reached. At least we do not know. It is classified information. And what form, shape it will take, we do not know. Autonomous weapon. I will show you since you are. Let me see. These are potential advantages, multiplier. Force multiplier, risk elimination, At present, we have more than 3 million active duty people, right? In the world, more than 3. So, do you need so many people? There's a question being asked now.
Yeah.
More than 3 million active duty people. And there's a question, So how much machines can do and how much human being can do and how to put them together. Putting them together is the biggest challenge. So, and precision and reduce collateral damage. Precision and collateral damage. Just think what is happening in Gaza, right? It's not precision war. We thought probably Israeli will have better intelligence and pinpoint targets, and then do it. It's not possible because everything is mixed up there. The goal should be to find out where the enemy is and hit the enemy there without damaging other part. That's the goal. That's the goal. So artificial intelligence will be able to do it. Now, for example, you remember that long ago when President Obama was in office, he ordered the killing of an American Yemeni priest, pinpoint in Yemen. He was just killed. That's the meaning of
We're
pinpoint.
getting a new roof.
We're being distracted here right now.
Somebody's on the roof.
Walking on the roof.
What's the roof for you about this?
I rode the elevator up. So that's
No.
probably what it is. Yeah.
Still.
Rode up with some elevator.
Got it, you've got it.
Talking about
Let's go. Go with it.
talking about precision targeting. President Trump in his first term, President Trump in his first term,
Lost a life at least.
after the killing of General Soleimani, Iranian general, right? So that is precision, That kind of precision targeting could be possible in the future. That surrounding areas should not be harmed. And I mean, we always think about what is happening in Russia, Ukraine, why the same thing, senseless bombardment. Right? We have some respect for Russia, but Russia is doesn't seem to be a very competent country. They could have finished the war earlier. They couldn't do it, which is a good thing, right? Which shows the power of a small country like Ukraine. So we have, this is a meaning that could we reduce the collateral damage? That's the point. Autonomous weapon. So we can speculate about, but we cannot, not because not there. So force multiplier, speed and superhuman speed, persistence, there's no question of you can kill as many drones as cost doesn't matter, right? Efficient cost. It's cheaper to have a drone than to have a soldier, human. In terms of cost, which is not proper to talk. Human life is different, but cost. How much does it take to train a soldier? Can you guess? How much? Apart from that, the family is there. What happens after the death, right? So why not to have a drone or F-16 jet, which is piloted by AI and does its job under the supervision of a piloted airplane.
There's your house.
That is the goal. That is the goal. That is the ultimate goal. So which raises the question I was talking about the Secretary of Defense, Pete Harris said that. He said that we don't need so many generals. I know what was his thinking, but not very clear. No? But I believe it's really we have to think about as to how to reduce this force. You can have very lean and mean AI-based force, which does the same job as 3.5, 3.1 million active duty personnel. And then the question is huge, bloated bureaucracy, what we call the Pentagon. So again, as business corporations are using AI to make their system efficient. When we talk about efficiency, we mean one person should do the work of 3%. That is efficiency, productivity. So do we need so many people? Now, the Trump administration has dismissed so many people, right? People are feeling bad about it. True. So many people have lost jobs. The question we have not asked, how has this impacted the agencies where people have been working? Are they adjusting? Are they becoming more efficient? Are they simply collapsing? That we have, in the course of time, we'll find out. But thinking about Pentagon as a big, huge corporation that could be made more efficient by the application of AI. And as it's happening in the forces, right? As they try new formation, new combination, the Army's convergence and having a global stage in the Pacific, trying new weapons, trying new combinations. That's why they call it not as an end state, but as a experimentation. This is the word they use, experimentation. The Army is using experimentation and trying different scenarios. What will happen? Every capstone, they call it capstone. It is capstone 5. Every capstone will have a different kind of setup experiment. So they learn. So, yes, please. There's somebody raising hand now. Yes.
So I was going to ask if the ability to factor in short and long-term consequences in the goals that one is setting is a drawback. It seems as if they're likely to accentuate or emphasize the short-term rewards and minimize the longer-term consequences of AI as a weapon. If we think of it as a powerful tool, but one that, like, say, nuclear energy, has side effects longer term, will those be factored in pursuing the shorter term benefits of implementing AI?
Well, you see, as we discussed earlier briefly, that energy is a real issue. And what are the sources? Nuclear energy is one. So when the challenge of the marketplace comes, they would find out, they will discover what sources to use. It could be solar energy, it could be a combination of several sources of energy to power this hungry beast. It is going to consume a lot of energy. True. The short-term goal is also a long-term goal. The goal is to make America more productive by using AI. More productive in every system, health system, education system, corporate marketing, everywhere, global trade. So I don't see if the two goals could be separated, short-term goal and long-term goal. Yes.
How will this be applied to education?
Pardon?
How can you apply this to education? What do we
education.
do
Oh, yes.
with all the people that now don't have a
Education.
job?
That's a very good question. I'm an educator, and I have been asking this question for a very long time. Why do we teach the way we do? why do we have semester system or quarter system? How do we meet 3 times a week? Other question is, how much students can do on their own at home and then come and we work with them? Is it really necessary that we test students with essays? Long-term tradition is there. Are there other alternatives? So this is one thing AI is doing to us. It is challenging us to think differently. Is this the only way that we can educate students? In ancient times, the times of ancient Greece and Rome and India, and mostly people were not literate as we have today. We are today, right? But they were knowledgeable. Where did the knowledge come from? Oral tradition, theater, epics, right? There were no movies. And people were very intelligent. The Greek, look at the Greek culture, ancient Greek culture, the contribution they have made, right? So today also, to answer the question, we have to ask, how should we teach? We don't want to ask questions, but we professors are used to this routine. Life is so secure. When I have to go to class 2 times a week, 3 times a week, to give examination, my life is very secure. Right? But if a student says, students have different abilities. Do you agree? All students have different abilities, but we have the same syllabus. So why not to, customize, individualize? Right? At what level? Does every student have to learn the same thing, the same letter? Here go the same letter. So that probably is the biggest challenge. So education is under great threat, right? In the sense that our system is probably not very good. Right? So we have to make, it's becoming so expensive, education. Education is becoming very expensive. Even small colleges charge so much. So it should be possible. There's an academy called Khan Academy, you must have heard about it. It is one direction, it is universal, it is global. And MIT, for example, has made number of its courses available freely to people all over the world. You'll be surprised how many Indian young people are taking that course, and Chinese and other people, right? So this is a future we can think about. That is, you talk question about education, and education is very important in the sense that our future depends on it. Because other people are not simply waiting. Right? Advantage we have is that English language and open universities, we invite people from all over the world. So they enrich us and we enrich them. So that will change. Yes.
How are we going to employ all the people if artificial intelligence can answer all the questions?
No, but because you will, artificial intelligence cannot answer all your questions. You can have dialogue, right? It will not answer all your questions. And also you should not trust intelligence, AI, for everything. But if you are alone at home, have a dialogue. If I can show you how to do that, let me see what thing was done.
Question?
Yes, please.
With AI comes increased productivity.
Yes, it will increase productivity because wastage will be eliminated. That's one. And AI can do the jobs of many people. So productivity is per person. That's why I'm talking about even the military. You need so many generals. You need so many officers. So this is the menu of productivity. And you see, we're talking about health, for example, right? And we don't need doctors and nurses, but they are very busy. Could we do some jobs with the help of AI so that nurses pay more attention to patients. That's not a question of elimination. Yes, ultimately. But the question, the challenge which we are facing today is that managers and officers, they are not very much ready to use AI. It's not easy, right? So it takes time. This is what we call a cultural lag. Technology, cultural lag. Technology advances faster than we can adapt. It creates tremendous anxiety, which we don't take into fiction. Anxiety. AI is creating anxiety. AI is creating tremendous anxiety on the campuses. On the campus. Every campus is, what do we do? Essay has been there for hundreds of years. Can we have other way of testing students' knowledge?
I'm concerned about unemployment.
Unemployment seems to be an issue. But the question is, as has been said, and you look at the technology throughout the century, as new technology comes, some jobs go away, others are created. Right? But jobs will be different. One thing is certain. We need to have more literate people, knowledgeable people. So since everybody cannot go to college, so why not to use AI in making people literate, right? And that's why I just mentioned the name of Khan Academy. So if you look at the syllabus at Dartmouth College, they have not changed syllabus for a long time. So, my grandniece is there now. My son also went to school at Dartmouth College. So when I look at it, I say, a lot of things can be done by kids with the help of AI at home. So why not take one step? Why should we have 4 years of undergraduate? Can we have 3 years and save money with the same efficiency? But do you think professors will accept it? This is the meaning of cultural lag. Many people are retiring. Why should we bother? Why should we change? So this is the meaning of technology advances faster than we can handle it. There's a gap. And that creates a lot of tension. And this is the reason there's so much anxiety in America, elsewhere also. And the fear of being compromised, hallucination, and invasion of privacy. All the issues are there. They have been always there, but more now. So have I answered your question? Some efficiency, the question was the efficiency. You have to define efficiency. I'll give you another answer.
Well, I've heard that a third of the white collar workers will lose their job when AI is fully employed. And I'm reminded of the Industrial Revolution, where the workers in the textiles mills took their wooden shoes and threw it in the machinery.
Sabotage.
Yeah, that is true. But that time has passed, and those factory workers were employed somewhere else. And today, when you say 1/3 of the white-collar employees will lose job, you are thinking about something which is going to happen suddenly. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It will be so slow that we will absorb the new jobs which will be created. Jobs will be different. Even the manufacturing jobs, which we have lost to China, they are very different. Yes, please.
I have a great interest in the
Yes.
future of deep sea
The Chinese.
as a Chinese technique for promoting efficiency at lower cost, much lower cost than we seem to manage in our own country. What is your feeling about the future of deep sea and the application of this technology as an approach that could, in many countries, generate greater efficiency at a much lower cost than in the US. What do you see as the future of DeepSeek and what China is presently able to manage
First
on a
of all,
large scale?
DeepSeek is based, as they say, it's based on distillation technique. Distillation. It distills what has been already done. It's based upon what American company had done. Right? It shows efficiency. And then American companies have taken this challenge. See, China has been borrowing from us, copying from us, and then improving, right? And then this is what we call reaction, interaction, etc., and this American company will change. But it's a good point. DeepSeek is a technology which challenges American. It's challenge and response. If there's no challenge to existing system at present, they will never improve. Right? So you said other countries might follow the example of DeepSeek and produce AI products, services, apps at a lower cost.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Which is a good thing, right? Just as long ago, American cars made in America dominated the world, and then came Japanese and Koreans. Then what happened? The car industry improved. Even today, there's no end to improvement. So that is one way of looking at it. But DeepSeek is there. It's very important. Chinese are, as they say, they borrow, they buy, and sometimes they steal. And they have this supreme capability of improving upon things. See this super train, maglev, they got that technology from Japan. And they improved by now that on the top. We should not underestimate China. They may not be, they are innovators, but American innovation comes from the fact that we have a...
About to drop it. I'm about to drop it while I fall asleep.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Are there questions there?
No, just. It was an hallucination.
You could answer your question. Sorry, there's another question. Yes.
You know, in addition to to where Ed mentioned a third of the white collar jobs, the 350 cab drivers in San Francisco have now been replaced by Venmo. And when that technology spreads to the trucking industry, that's 2 million jobs.
Yes.
So it's not simply white collar. And I don't think as a society, we have come up with a solution to what we're going to do. Even if we bring the manufacturing jobs back that they talk about, there aren't going to be that many people involved in the manufacturing because of the robotics that now exist. So there's an institutional problem that's growing and is going to continue to grow. And I think AI can be a wonderful thing, but we haven't come close to looking at the problems that we'll need to solve.
Millions of truck drivers will be replaced, but not tomorrow. It will take some time, right?
Yep.
So by that time, they will adjust, they will find new jobs, right? And
autonomous trucks. Autonomous trucks.
Autonomous trucks will require new kind of services.
100,000 truck drivers are looking for work. 100,000 truck drivers are looking for work.
They will look for it. Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. Yes.
Never going to be true. You're always going to need somebody to help. Truck, so
there will be always some problem.
Truck can get there by
society.
We'd rather have a conversation. Yes.
Somebody else just before. Yes.
He's on mute.
My question has to do with AI's potential for really bringing the world together. It doesn't necessarily obey demands artificial country borders. And countries therefore have a great potential to share information. And it could bring global society together in a way that hasn't happened in the past. Is there a organization developing internationally to address how to bring or how to manage artificial intelligence for the world?
This February, there was a conference in Paris. We tried to come up with a kind of consensus how to use AI globally. So, USA, Vice President J.D. Vance was there. He declined to participate. He said, no, if we sign this declaration, it will deprive us of the opportunities we are looking for. We are according to him, Americans are very innovative people. Why should we give up advantage and share our innovation with other people? Right? China is not going to share its technology of DeepSeek with the rest of the world. Right? And same is the goes for Microsoft. It's a proprietary technology. So
They could sell it.
Answer your question. At present, I mean, UN Assembly, General Assembly passed a resolution. See, putting some guardrails, advises, do this and this for AI. But General Assembly has no power. UN General Assembly no power. The only country this is a question I will discuss at the end. The only country, we should call it country, European Union. They came up with after a long struggle, they passed a law. And I want to show you. Yes. Yeah, this is what we're talking about. To maintain its edge in AI, the US is investing in various initiatives. So they established this office of what you call Chief Digital and AI Officer. And then what I want to show you this.
I'm gonna go get my.
This is what you're talking about. US approach is hands-off approach. President Biden issued an executive order. But that was an executive order, not law. That executive order was based upon in consultation with the AI's company, American AI company, technology company. And the goal was not to do something that will stifle innovation. So when President Trump came to power, and they discarded it. It's nothing. In Paris, there was a conference, and they said, well, we will not do anything that strangles AI. It is ours. Why would America give up its so much power? Right? Sharing is fine, no problem with that. So your question that whether AI can bring us together as humanity, but this is a technology only. There have been so many technologies. What will bring people of the world together is ultimately diplomacy, alliances. And after the collapse of the Soviet Union, America became a unipolar power, right? And this lasted for some time. And when China began to rise, that unipolar power began to be diluted, but it's still there. When you have a country with so much presence, global presence, and power, influence, it is possible to bring people together. Not exactly human race in one kind of beehive, But on the whole, when you have a dominant power as the USA, it is possible to bring about some peace. I had a conference I had a discussion with a professor at Dartmouth College, and he said the same thing. America is still not only militarily, financially, otherwise also. So the point I'm making is you cannot have a global power of equals or near equal and have peace. They will fight. Throughout history, people have fight because of this. So it might sound rather imperialistic to say that we have to maintain, America must maintain some kind of dominant presence financially, dollar, institutionally. IMF and the World Bank and other things. And other, to have a dominant, you cannot have a world unless some power is. A time might come in China, but China is far behind. There is no hype about China. China has made progress in many areas. But in terms of GDP, it is about $15 trillion. And USA is about $25 trillion. Very big difference. As I mentioned in the beginning, the US military has presence all over the world, in all the commons. It has it has bases in about 80 countries, 160,000 bases. It's immense, huge, mind-boggling. So this is what we have. For example, just think about just a minute. Last month, there was a fight between India and Pakistan. You heard about it. In 4 days, it came to a close. It was closed in 4 days. Right? The USA intervened and they said, stop it. Do you think any other country would have listened to China or Russia? So, a lot of us criticize ourselves that we are imperialist and we have done bad things. True. But since 1945, to what it was, the humanity, to answer your question somehow, has been brought together. The world is much more peaceful than it was earlier. Keep this in mind. The finding of COVID vaccine was a global effort, not a US effort. Somehow, USA brought the best brains in the world together. This way we can do it. There was another question, somebody raising a question. Yes, please.
Do you think that the UN would have some role in expanding the use of AI around the world to countries, not just China and the US, but to the African nations? And
the UN Assembly passed a resolution. UN Assembly passed a resolution by AI that it should be used humanely and respectfully, human rights, etc., general thing. But there was no mention that big powers, AI powers, should share their technology free of charge with the African countries, the Asian countries. People are on their own. But thanks. It's still time?
Good. Another 7 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to show many clips. The subject is so interesting, and you have been asking questions. I'm thankful to you. I'm learning from you. Maybe next time I'll do better. I want to let me show you if I can. Yeah, this autonomous weapon. See if I can show you. See, these weapons are not autonomous, but they're moving in that direction. Some technology works, something.
What is
The Navy will be
loitering
taking a large
ammunition?
step into the future of maritime prowess by testing the newest anti-submarine warfare ship, the Sea Hunter.
The US Defense Agency, DARPA, has completed trials of the Sea Hunter, the world's largest unmanned autonomous vessel, or drone ship. The ship is 132 feet long and designed to travel thousands of miles over open seas for months at a time without a single crew member on board. An autonomous ship like the Sea Hunter would make an excellent submarine hunter. Diesel-electric submarines, which make up the bulk of the world's submarine fleets, can stay underwater for up to 2 weeks at a time. That's longer than a helicopter or fixed-wing aircraft can stay in the area. And a crewed surface ship puts the hunter at risk of becoming the hunted. But an unmanned ship can linger in an area for months and track an enemy submarine for as long as it takes for the sub to make a fatal mistake, then attack with a lightweight homing torpedo. This ship features a composite hull and foam core with 2 outrigger floats to enhance stability at sea, and it has a fiberglass polymer reinforced skin, allowing it to absorb high amounts of stress while remaining incredibly sturdy. The ship weighs 145 tons with full load displacement and can travel approximately 10,000 nautical miles and has a maximum reported speed of 27 knots. The ship can also launch the Talon Elevated Sensor Mast, which is basically a militarized parasail towed behind the ship, lifting a 150-pound payload up to 1,500 feet above sea level. Possible payloads for the Talon include communication relays in situations where satellite-based communications are unavailable. DARPA has expanded the potential roles for the Sea Hunter. Because it's an unmanned ship, it can shoot it out with swarms of Iranian speedboats in the Straits of Hormuz, lay in a stealthy ambush with anti-ship missiles to attack enemy ships, or sail up and down foreign coastlines, scooping up radio signals with a spy package attached to the Talon parasail, or even conduct resupply runs in dangerous waters, all without exposing a single friendly sailor to danger. Sea Hunter's autonomous nature means that a land-based crew need only man the ship's sensors and weapons when it is involved in action. A single crew could likely operate multiple Sea Hunters, only crewing them when there is action. The ship is relatively cheap to build and is far less expensive to run than a similar manned vessel. For example, the Sea Hunter will cost about $15,000 to $20,000 per day to operate, whereas the average cost of operating a guided missile destroyer with anti-submarine capabilities are around $700,000 per day. Ships like the Sea Hunter are a real possible future for the US Navy, as it only has a limited number of crewed vessels to handle missions at hand, and the personal costs involved in crewing those ships are a major part of the Navy's budget. The US Navy, over the years, has experimented with a number of unmanned vessels, such as drone helicopters, fighters, spy planes and boats, and is currently developing the first drone submarine. If you can make a drone out of it, the US Navy will probably be interested in it. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
I can show you another clip.
Wow.
We have still some time. Couple of
minutes, yeah.
What's the fuel?
Okay, this is another one. Okay. They're not autonomous totally. They're moving in that direction. How far? As I said, the commanders are ready to lose control. How much control can a weapon be totally autonomous? Should it be there? Should it be? Commanders are trained to control, not to give up control. They want to enhance their control. That's why these exercises are going on. But the army exercise another.
Right, is that it?
Yes, don't have time. I'd like to continue if you want, but maybe next year.
There's gonna be a next time. That's another story. First of all, thank you so much for coming and enlightening me certainly on the whole scheme of AI.
I really enjoy because you asked so many questions.